Tonight, there is so much to talk about, from the internal wranglings in the PDP to the issues of the interim government, the allegations of the plot to destabilize the country and disrupt the transition process. And of course, we go to Abia State tonight. The governor will be speaking to us on the program tonight. I mean, he's one person who came out and said, look, he has given it up, and Alex Oti should be supported. And those who are going to court should not go to court. But those who are asking, what has Governor Okeze Ekpazu done in Abia State? You'll be hearing from him tonight. But first and foremost, our first conversation will be about the PDP, what is going on. There's a reversal of the suspension on former Governor Fayose, the former SGF, Ayim Payozayim, and the former Governor Sherma. Some of these issues we'll be touching on tonight. Stay with me, everyone, because first and foremost, I like to bring you up to speed with your political roundup stories. My colleague is standing by to do that for us.
Thank you, Sheung. Good evening. I am Kayla Megwa, and these are your political roundup stories for today. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, today continued with the issuance of certificates of return to governors-elect and their deputies in some parts of the country. The governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, his running mate, Mr. Kadri Hamzat, along with 39 elected members of the State Assembly. After receiving his certificates, Governor Sanwo-Olu called on residents of the state to shun all forms of rancor and join hands with him to build a greater Lagos. Governor Dapo Abiodun, his deputy, Mrs. Noimot Oyedele, alongside 25 out of the 26 members of the State House of Assembly, members-elect, have been presented with their certificates of return. The event, held at the state headquarters of the Commission in Abeokuta, the state capital, was attended by heads of security, management members of INEC in the state, and the National Commissioner in charge of Ogun, Ondo, and Osun, Professor Kunle Ajayi, among others. Speaking during the ceremony, Governor Dapo Abiodun promised purposeful leadership and establishment of more critical infrastructure across the state. In Borno State, Professor Babagana Zulum, with 28 elected members of the State House of Assembly, were presented with a certificate of return in Maiduguri, the state capital. However, the Deputy Governor-elect, Mr. Umar Usman, was not present to receive his certificate as he's observing Lesser Hajj. Speaking at the ceremony, the governor promises to consolidate on the achievements of his first term in office. Katsina State Governor-elect, Mr. Diko Rada, has extended hands of fellowship to opponents, urging them to join him to move the state to greater heights. Mr. Rada was speaking after receiving his certificate of return from INEC in Katsina. The event, which was held at the state INEC office, was witnessed by party members across the 34 local government areas of the state. The Enugu State Governor-elect, Mr. Peter Mba, has also received his certificate of return from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Mr. Mba, who collected the certificate alongside his deputy and members-elect of the State House of Assembly, called on his fellow contenders in the just concluded governorship election to sheathe their swords and join hands in taking the state to greater heights. In Plateau State, the Governor-elect, Mr. Caleb Mutfwan, his running mate, along with elected members of the State House of Assembly, have received their certificates of return. Presenting the certificates, the resident electoral commissioner, Teso Agundu, in his remarks, charged the winners to deliver on the promises they made to the people when they eventually resumed their respective positions. The Akwa State Governor-elect, Mr. Omo Eno, and his running mate, Senator Akon Eyakenye, and 26 elected members of the State Assembly also got their certificates of return from the Commission. The National Commissioner for INEC, Mrs. May Agbamuche Mbu, presented the certificates to the winners at a brief ceremony at the Commission's office in Uyo, the state capital. Ahead of the November 11 governorship election in Imo State, political leaders and stakeholders in Owerri Municipal Council have thrown their weight behind the second-term bid of Governor Hope Uzodinma. The leaders say the achievements and contributions of the Uzodinma-led administration in the last 2.5 years is visible in all sectors of the state and thereby needs to be continued for another 4 years. The leader of the group, Ernest Ibejiako, told journalists at a press conference in Owerri, the Imo State capital, that Governor Hope Uzodinma's commitment to delivering good governance, dividends of democracy, and fulfillment of his campaign promises will no doubt earn him a resounding second tenure in office.
We, the people of Owerri Municipal as an establishment, are satisfied with the performances of His Excellency Senator Obo Odelika.
A civil society organization under the aegis of Partners for Electoral Reforms wants the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to collaborate with relevant security agencies to immediately prosecute electoral offenders who violated the provision of the new Electoral Act, either in their actions or words. Speaking at a press conference in Abuja, the convener of the organization, Mr. Ezenwanwago, says the 2023 general elections were successful, except for the fact that INEC failed in the area of transmission of results to its IREF portal, which made it difficult for Nigerians to monitor the results of the elections as anticipated. The members-elect of the Rivers State House of Assembly are anticipating a smooth working relationship with the incoming governor, Sim Fubara. Speaking exclusively to Channels Television, one of the members-elect representing Asari Toru 1 constituency anticipates a smooth working relationship with the incoming governor.
Every good legislator must have to have a good synergy with the executive, and I don't think there will be different from the relationship we have got with the outgoing governor.
The senator-elect for the Federal Capital Territory under the Labour Party, Mrs. Ireti Kingibe, is promising to work with all stakeholders in the nation's capital to bring unprecedented development to the residents of Abuja. Addressing journalists in Abuja, Mrs. Ireti Kingibe also promised to fight for the indigenous inhabitants of the territory who have been calling for a ministerial slot, among other developments. Those are the political roundup stories for today. It's back to you, Sheon.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. We told you earlier about the story of Festus Keyamo and his petition to the CCB over the petition against Atiku Abubakar. But now there are other stories coming from the PDP. Now the party has reversed its suspension of former governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, and former Senate President Pius Ayim, and other chieftains like the former Senate President Ayim Pius Ayim and former Governor Sherma. Also, the other people who are included in these reversal, Dennis Itava and Aslam Aliyu. The PDP National Publicity Secretary, Debo Olugunagba, in a statement earlier today said the party's National Working Committee reversed the referral of the governor of Benue State, Samuel Ortom, to the National Disciplinary Committee, and this is part of the decision the party had made. The party had a week ago suspended the party's stalwarts over anti-party activities. Meanwhile, the State Working Committee of the PDP in Benue State has suspended the Kachi Philip-led Igorov Council Ward executive in Boko local government area to nip the crisis that led to the suspension of the national chairman, Iyocha Ayu, in the bout. The acting state chairman of the party, Isaac Mfo, at a press briefing in Makurdi says the Igorov Council Ward executive is suspended for 1 month to allow for peace to be restored.
The State Working Committee deliberated on and reviewed the recent activities and matters of the administration of the affairs of the party in Igorov Council Ward, which have raised and aggravated tensions within the party in the area with possible threats of violence and breakdown of law and order. It is therefore the resolution of the State Working Committee that, pursuant to the powers conferred on it by Section 59, subsection 4 of the Constitution of the People's Democratic Party, as amended in 2017, and thus order as follows. 1, that the Executive Committee of the PDP in Igorov Council Ward is hereby suspended for a period of 1 month, pending necessary action which shall be taken to restore sanity, harmony, law and order in the party in that area.
We'll put perspectives into all of this issue, plus the first story and headline story that we reported about Festus Keyamo's petition to the CCB. Now he has been invited to come and help out in the investigation, which we understand that the CCB might soon be commencing investigation into the allegation of using the use of SPVs by Atiku Abubakar to siphon money when he was vice president. I'm being joined tonight by a member of the People's Democratic Party and a spokesperson to the PDP Presidential Campaign Council, Mr. Segun Sowunmi. Thank you so much indeed for coming tonight.
Segun, thanks for having me.
I appreciate it. What is going on in your party? It seems to be like a lot is happening. And first, we saw the suspension of the national chairman. We saw the suspension of the likes of Ayodele Fayose, Fayose, Governor Shema, and the rest. But we've seen the reversal. There are those who are saying that the suspension of the chairman also, there is a problem. And there are a lot of ripples on this. Is the party bleeding internally?
Sure. You know, the difference between PDP and our friends, the rivals APC, is that as a habit, we really strive to obey court orders. Even when the orders are offensive and they have far-reaching consequences on us, we always try to obey it. I'll come back to juxtaposing later. And when we take a decision and there's an outcry that says that, no, you can't go this way, you can't go this way, what makes you know that we're a democratic party is that we have the uncanny and unusual ability to call ourselves back. The suspensions of the Fayose and Co. didn't go down well with a lot of party members. Why? Because we felt after an election that we're challenging in court, we shouldn't be seen to be injuring ourselves or, casting blames, especially when we have not done a comprehensive review of that election. Therefore, we felt that, it may seem like victimization, especially when we know where these entrenched interests are. And we cried out. And thankfully and luckily, our NWC, they took a second review of the matter and they have, stepped aside that suspension. You can see what's going on in Benue State too. The people who, for whatever reasons, did what they did, you can see some action. Democracy is not pretty. It's a very heavy contestation, ideas, mood, inflections, attitude, humans, behavior, characteristics. But one thing is certain, democracies thrive when we obey the rule of law. Take a look at your friends on the other side. I can count 4 instances where you see that.
Where are the friends? So when you say your friends,
I know you wanted me to say APC, but okay.
No, because when you say your friends, I wanted you to put it in perspective.
Yeah, it's the APC.
I don't have any friends.
I know you don't. I know you don't.
So
do you have enemies?
No, I don't have enemies. But in this sense,
you are neutral.
I see everybody as Nigerians.
I like that.
Politicians, you know your ways.
No, we are Nigerians too.
Say your friends.
Don't waste my time on this thing. My friends,
the
APC.
Good. Continue, please.
Let's say my friends. I can give you 4 instances where they really let people down in terms of how they obey or choose not to obey court orders. Let me start from the one with the CBN. Look at how long and how far it took them just to obey the lawful order of a court. Check 1. Look at the fellow that is in the EFCC. With due respect to him, I'm aware that he has what you have, this contempt of court judgment on his head. And what is he doing? He's not vacating. He's not purging himself of contempt. He's going around in the country as though he is now the law unto himself. Let's proceed in those type of order. Now look at what they've done today. They're in charge of all the apparatus of government, including DSS, by virtue of the fact that it's part of the commander-in-chief responsibility of their president and the party. They have come to say, red herring, we hear some people are trying to truncate this and truncate that. Now, I ask you, who the hell is the DSS talking to? Is it Sheung or me or any other Joe out there that's supposed to help them find out who those persons are, why they've not been arrested, why they've not been profiled, and why anybody will be coming to public space with such a very, very important and very, very serious comment from one of the biggest, most respected intelligence organizations in the world, because I think our DSS is good. See, when you ask me what's going on with the PDP, I take you to town so you can see that we are struggling to be Democrats. We are acting like Democrats. We behave like Democrats. This 2023 election has come now. As far as we are concerned, it's not over because we still have to go to court, and we have started the process. Some of our friends are naturally young people. They want to ventilate and they know greed and all of that. They're on the street. Have you seen any of our leaders from the PDP make any incisive comment, make any comment that would suggest that we want to torpedo the country? It's very hard being Democrats, especially when you feel cheated. Flip it back to my friends, the APC. It's not unlike them to say baboon will be bled. It's not unlike them to start to, do like player hating and, gaslighting a whole race. Look, we are not a people who can hold ourselves responsible for what we consider to be infractions that we think rest squarely with INEC and all other organs that have some responsibility to prevent certain things from happening. But shall we not even be allowed in a free democratic environment to say we are protesting? And if this DSS shenanigan is the attempt at saying people will not protest, but hello, we will protest if we have a need to protest. We will go to court. We will be within the rules. We will obey all lawful orders, but we will not allow anybody, no matter how highly placed, to take from us our fundamental human right as guaranteed by the Geneva Convention of protest. And anything other than that doesn't make sense. In terms of the PDP, we are not bleeding.
Okay.
So we have been around since 1999.
Absolutely, because I'd like to direct you back to my question, because you've gone off the trajectory of my first question.
Yes, I did.
Which is the fact that the question is your party bleeding? Because
I just told you we're not.
What would you describe? How do you describe what is going on in your party? And you just finished an election, and now you're saying there's no chairman. You don't have a national chairman as you speak.
Sure,
you only have an acting national chairman.
I went to town to show you how we try to obey court orders. It's a legitimate order of court that told him not to parade himself.
I'm talking about a political situation in your party. I'm not talking about.
I'm telling you what made the national chairman step aside. You're missing the point, Shehu.
I'm not. I'm asking you a question.
The point I'm making to you, listen, Shehu.
And I'd like you to explain to Nigerians just for a moment.
Okay.
You went into an election.
Yeah.
And I'd like you to unravel, because you are on the inside. And, as a very good person that I know very well, you are the one that doesn't lie, and I've not caught you doing that. I'd like you to be able to tell Nigerians the truth. You are coming out of an election, and you're seeing all of this playing out within your party. Doesn't it cause for a concern, especially for your supporters who voted for your party, to say, this was a party they supported, and see what is going on?
Shehu, listen, we went to an election and the result is still being contested. The NWC of our party suspended some key players in our party. We, the party members, some of us cried, no, this is not the time for this.
So you think that step was a wrong one?
We didn't agree with it. They reversed.
Was it a wrong one?
We didn't agree. Listen, when you are profiling people for anti-party activities, it may not necessarily be wrong or right. We just didn't agree that that's not the thing now. That's not where we are now. What have they done? They reversed. A court said, our national chairman, Yosha, you must not parade himself. What has he done? He stepped aside. Now, what I'm trying to show you is that I'm trying to show the Nigerians that democracy is not pretty. Some of these things do happen. And that was why I juxtaposed it to the APC that has a peculiar, unwilling ability to obey the law. It doesn't even matter if there's a judgment. In the Bauer case, I followed it because civil society have been talking about it for some time. I've heard science talk about it. There is a contempt of court that says they want to commit him to prison. It's a judgment.
So does that refer to the APC in what way, or the government in power?
Can the party that produced a government be totally different from that government? Members of the fourth realm, stop treating these people with kids' gloves.
I'm asking you a question.
I'm answering you absolutely. They cannot divulge themselves from the shenanigans of the government they battered. Who's going to be responsible for people not obeying the law?
How do you describe that scenario?
I've described it for you that, look, we are coming to a dangerous next phase in our democracy. You know what that phase is? It's the phase of do whatever you like. It doesn't matter how brazen. It doesn't matter how offensive. It doesn't matter the physical evidence that people can see that is immoral. All they have to say is go to the court. And there's a way they spin that go to the court. You almost get the impression they're saying go to the court because they have some understanding that justice cannot be done. I don't agree with them, though. I feel that the Nigerian judiciary still has the capacity and the capability to examine cases and rule. And now, back to the Bauer case. A court of competent jurisdiction said, oh, Mr. Bauer, contempt of court, we're going to commit you to prison. They have already ruled. What I expect him to do, what I expect his government to do, what I expect his Attorney General to do, with due respect to them, is to say, Bauer, purge yourself of contempt or go to prison. These things are not open to you. Look,
because I've asked Mr. Bauer about this.
And what did he say?
And he said that
he has not seen the court.
Just for a moment, he said that there are the pro-Bauer and there are the anti-Bauer, and perhaps his actions and the performance in office is what is causing that.
I am as pro-Nigeria as pro-Nigeria can be. I am so pro-Bauer, Bauer will not even believe it. I was pro-Emefiele. As Emefiele would believe it. He didn't ask me to be pro him. I've always been pro what is the best for us. What I'm saying to you, Shehu, I wish it wasn't Bauer. I wish I could use another example. We will torpedo our country if we give the impression that we will not obey lawful orders of court. It's as simple as ABC. And PDP obeyed that order on the Ayu matter. Compare us with our friends.
All right. Let me take you to the lesson, because now we're looking at your party. Whatever happened to the Ekweremadu report, in the post-2019, there was a similar report in the post-2015. There was another one in the post-2019.
Yeah.
For those who have been watching activities in your party will be wondering, do you guys just put up this report for the sake of it, but for not really thinking about utilizing the lessons and the advice that are embedded in those reports? What has become of those kind of lessons that have been drawn from these scenarios?
Our actions in 2023 is consistent with both the Ekweremadu and the Bala report. And I'll tell you what the report says in the real sense of the play. The Ekweremadu report said, look, you guys, we can't be doing every 4 years zoning. Keep it for 8 years, because if somebody wins the first term, he may be naturally entitled constitutionally. You can't be asking to come and discuss zoning. That was what Ekweremadu said. The Bala report came and said, well, we're in a catch-22 situation in 2023, therefore throw it open, so that we don't fall foul of a Ekweremadu report, but we also are sensitive to the yearnings of the people in the country. How did we go wrong? Shehu, you know the funny thing about democracy? The funny thing about democracy is that you may bring everybody into a pool, and we may see, oh, we may think this is the best man for that particular responsibility, and 5 minutes after you tell people to go and cast their vote, and you'll be shocked. Because, Shehu, if the Nigerians are not even shocked that APC can still have the temerity to win an election in this country, when we were using Naira to buy Naira, we didn't have fuel for forever, we were queuing, we had the longest strike for like 8 months, we have the rate of poverty that is crazy, the whole thing is not working, and democracy. They may have, touches up here and there, that's for the court to decide, but the fact remains that some people still vote for them. So the not so, textbook definition of democracy is that the people will still have to vote.
And the question is that, I remember Uche Secondus, after losing out the election, he literally was prostrating to Nigerians, begging Nigerians that please forgive us. We failed Nigerians, and we want to have a new start. In fact, there are those who are campaigning that PDP needs a rebirth, PDP needs to be refreshed, PDP needs some kind of rejigging and all of that. But, I don't know if there was an actual fix of your party going into the 2023 election. Could this be one of the reasons, or how would you describe what led to the loss of your party in the 2023 election?
I'll say that the 2023 election was an unusual election. In 2019, we felt and we really strongly believe we were robbed. But in 2023, I like to say we gave it out by ourselves. You can map where the areas where we didn't get our traditional numbers. And you can just see PDP is responsible for not getting it here. PDP is responsible here. PDP is responsible. PDP is responsible in Oyo. So our struggle, or if you like, their struggle, because I ain't involved in that. Their struggle for control and trying to show that we're this, we're that, created a scenario where they were trying to settle score with a general election.
It was an own goal for your party.
It was a terrible own goal for our party. You know why? you can see the mood in the country. Anybody can sponsor people to come and start saying, we support you, we support you. The fact remains that it is against logic that a party that almost just before an election had suffered the Nigerians the highest level of suffering they've ever known since the Civil War. You were using Naira to buy Naira. How do you explain that they can win, if not an own goal? And a lot of things that we're hoping that the courts would throw up.
And that leads me to asking you your reaction to the DSS, and perhaps not in the realm of the DSS, but in the items that have been drawn by the DSS on the intentions of those who want a state of emergency, those who want an interim government in this country, and those who, they say, according to the DSS statement, that they are orchestrating all of this to cause unrest in the country. What would be in the mind of these kind of people?
First things first. One of the reasons why you have organizations like DSS, FBI, KGB, and all of those things all over the MI5, and so on and so forth in the world, is to be the first level of filter to track information and nip them in the bud. Part of nipping it in the bud is that they are to profile where these things are coming from. If there is justiciable and concrete evidence, they go and try. How can the people that could do Gestapo against judges come and start doing press conferences at the risk of so-called destabilization of the country? You see,
so you don't believe that?
No, I believe that the APC government is the greatest disappointment that has happened in this country. They have, even the mystique of government power has been lost. Normally, if anybody was planning those kinds of things, what you'll be hearing is that they've picked them up, they've arrested them, they are writing statements and all of that. They're not doing press conferences and press releases. That their press release can have two potential interpretations. One, it can make people very scared, potential investors, those coming into the country, thinking that the country is going to implode, which I don't think so. The second one is that it may be their clever idea of starting a Gestapo against opposition. But I would just advise, 12 states were given to APC, Bola Tinubu, allocated to him. 12 states were...
What do you mean by allocated?
I'm coming, because we're in court with him. We're challenging his victory. 12 states were allocated to him. 12 states were won by PDP. 11 states was FCT was won by Labour and Peter Obi. That means you have an Igbo man in Peter Obi, a Hausa Fulani man in Atiku, a Yoruba in Bola Tinubu, practically dividing the country into three. When you see that, if you're a classical person who understands catastrophic hypotheses, you're going to say, hey, we need to cool down now. We need to start, bringing everybody together so that you don't win a Parag victory. The military was in charge of this country and people did civil disobedience until they had to go. If it is easy for people to do civil disobedience to force the military out, then tell me how easy do you think it is to do civil disobedience to force civilian government into trouble?
That's not a conversation for...
I know it's not a conversation. I'm just trying to tell you that
we shouldn't be painting that picture.
No. Analysis...
Because if you said that the nation is at a fragile state, then we should not be painting... We should not be tilting towards that.
I gave you a scenario that will make all of the players understand that it's just an election. Someone can win, someone can lose, the country continues. And that the activities, action, rhetorics of all persons will help us to heal. And in that healing process, let's not be looking for how we're just going to start, making people feel uncomfortable, making them feel that the country is no longer welcoming for them. And for those who are probably under the guise of opposition, thinking that anybody in this country is interested in their shenanigans and trying to implode the country, they have another day coming. That's why I called out the DSS and said, no, that's not the approach. You have won them now. The next thing we want to see, their names, when, where, how. If you need them to profile them for further investigation, do that.
So you're asking that the DSS should go after these people and arrest them?
Absolutely. So just don't go and trump up charges to injure your opponents. If there is any concrete evidence, if you charge somebody, he has to prove, he has to explain himself. If you have evidence he's doing it, do you think that a nation like Nigeria, your Nigeria, my Nigeria, our Nigeria, is actually going to be willing to destroy our country because of somebody lost an election or won an election? No, we're not. Democracy is a journey. I know all the issues around the 2023 election. Let me share something with you. I actually truly believe that because the Electoral Act is a new act, Some of the, teething problems is going to come up when you implement. But the fact that there are some teething problems there does not mean that you have to throw everything away with the bathwater. You are going to have to hem in your hate and your anger and your disappointment. And you're going to have to infuse courage and hope that the future will be brighter and better for this country.
Do you see any form of credibility in the last election?
I think, for me, there was something that was credible. The thing that was credible is that for accreditation purposes, the beavers worked. What I consider most unfortunate is that it was the same INEC that chose to build the hope of Nigerians, the international community, politicians, young people, on some kind of magical process that is going to make people see results flying from their polling unit straight to the server. They kept pumping courage into it and words into it and emotions into it until that was the significant thing that all Nigerians were waiting for. And how did they perform on that day? They bungled it. And because we are a country where people do things that are no consequence, it's easy for them to shove it in our face, go to court. Look at what has happened in Ogun. In Ogun State, the margin of lead was 13,750. The council area that we can see only, without even going for overvoting, we could quickly show them 33,750. A logical person would say, how can you cancel, people are snatching ballots in 33,750? And some guy is telling me he won with 13,000, losing his own federal constituency, losing his state, losing his senatorial district, losing his polling, losing his ward, and you have handed him a certificate of return. So that what? We can go to court, go and start looking for money, look for lawyers, and then when we get to court, INEC, who is supposed to be independent, now begins to stand on the side of the people that they have announced. It's difficult for opposition.
All right. If there's one thing your party need to, and you've not mentioned the fact that, and I just have about 60 seconds to close, to wrap up here, the issue of the SPVs, the allegation against your principal.
Listen, I listened to that video many times by Achimogo, and I heard what Atiku is said to have said. But I don't see anywhere there where Atiku was saying, oh, he created an SPV for himself. If at all that video is anything to, or that audio is anything to go by, Atiku was describing a scenario where the then President Olusegun Obasanjo and his friends were advised to stop, not to put their hands directly in the till. And if they want Atiku to come and provide evidence in ICPC, for God's sake, I trust him, he'll be there. Because I know that tape did not say, I, Atiku, did an SPV so that Atiku can take the money and start eating the money. Atiku actually even went as far as saying that.
Did you watch the tape?
I watched it.
Did you listen to it?
I listened to it.
And this is your position?
No. This is the honest truth there. I've not even spoken to Atiku on the matter. Listen, the guy said, oh, this is what is SPV, and he was trying to break it down to teach him. And at some point in time, he described the scenario. And then he said, it wasn't there. They just told them, don't go and be doing this. Why don't you try this? And please, countries have their culture. I hate hypocrites. Do not come and tell me that in 1999, you didn't think that political parties are funded somehow. And please do not come and pull the wool over my eyes and give the Nigerian people the impression that you have funded AD, AC, ACN, CPC, and even APC without some kind of arrangement and patronage. And if somebody has said something on tape, let's say the ICPC do whatever it needs to do. That's their business. But I can tell you, Atiku is not guilty.
Shagun Shawumi, a member of the PDP, spokesperson of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council. Thanks so much indeed for coming tonight.
It's a pleasure all the time, Shimon.
I appreciate it. We'll take a break, everyone. And when we return, Governor Okeze Ikpeazu, the governor of Abia State, will be joining me next, and we're looking at the development in Abia State, some of the scenarios which we played out in the state during the governorship and the presidential election, and all of those issues that you think Governor Ikpeazu needs to be answering to tonight after we come back from this break. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program tonight. Abia State in southeast Nigeria is one of the states where there was an upset in the 2023 elections. The ruling party, the PDP, lost in the presidential election and in the governorship election. The governor, Okeze Ikpeazu, will be serving out the 8 years, 2 terms in office in May 29 this year. He has been heavily criticized on his approach to governance in that state. Tonight, Governor Okeze Ikpeazu joins me live in our studio. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us.
You're welcome, Chef.
How's it been?
Well, very well. I'm good.
How do you feel in the next 1 month, about 2 months now? you'll be getting out of office?
Great relief. Great relief.
Relief that you're leaving office, or relief of what?
Relief that I'm leaving office. I have to get on to other things. And I've been on this job for 8 years. I can't remember sleeping anytime earlier than 2 a.m. for 8 years, no vacation.
Is it that you don't want to take it, or you're not entitled to one?
I am somebody who likes to apply everything in me to the job I do. And I don't regret it anyway. But I think the time has come for me to look through the window now and see.
What is humbling you? Because, I mean, for a governor to say this, there's an humbling situation. There's something that has happened to you recently that has humbled you politically. And those people can easily say, oh, maybe because you lost the president, your party lost in the presidential election. Your party also lost in the governorship election, and a very sad one, the loss of your candidate earlier before you picked another one. Are these the things that humbled you?
Oh, no. This has always been my mindset. Whenever I get into any office, the first file I open is a handover file, because it will certainly come. I've done 8 years. There are governors who couldn't do 8 years. I've done 8 years, and I'm still strong and healthy. And I operate from what I call my biological clock. It's time to do other things. And I must also remind you that while I was governor, I was able to conclude my book in biochemistry, which was launched just a few months ago. So that tells you that I have capacity to do other things. And I want to address other things in my life, because I have timetable for the things I need to do within a given period.
But it doesn't look like things went your way. You wanted to be a senator, or you lost the election.
Oh, yes. That was me offering to serve. And that is what it's all about. And that is why I quickly called the person who was declared and congratulated him and told him that I wasn't going to go to court. Reason is that I offered to serve. I thought I had something I wanted to bring. I thought there were gaps I needed to fill. I thought my experience as governor would have enabled me plug my people into what was happening at the federal level. But the outcome did not suggest that. So I quickly moved.
So your people rejected you? Because this is a more local election.
Yes, but not. That is what the outcome looks like. But I'm only one governor who walks the street of Aba every day. I literally trek, walk around Aba, and that is a privilege for any governor. If you are not accepted there, you'll be pelted.
You are from the Isialangwa local government, isn't it?
No, Obingwa.
Obingwa,
yes.
Yeah. And that's like a hotbed politically, which your opponents have said. You are always not allowing opposition to thrive or to even operate. Alex Oti, we easily say that the last election he won, but you did not allow the result to go his way. This time around also, Obingwa, Isialangwa. These are areas that elections were really very tough. But this time around, and I asked you that question, whether or not people rejected it. You've spent 8 years in office. To have lost out a senatorial, and you're not the only incumbent governor that has lost a senatorial election. It means a lot. Have you learned the lesson of governance or being in political office? That if you've served for almost 8 years and your people still say they don't want you, what does this tell you?
You see, what leads to the outcome of an election is a combination of many factors. It's a combination of many factors. And I am a very engaging person. I engage my people. If I wanted to run election, I'll be happy to run again and again and again there. But because the circumstances won't be the same. And those who won today have also lost elections at one point or the other in their history. And I want some of you to come to a place where we can see political contestation as one offering himself to serve, for whatever reason it is. If you don't come with that mindset, you make it a do or die affair. Some of the issues are contestable. There are still over 108,000 votes in over 120 units that is still there. And the results were declared inconclusive, and later they said can now be concluded. Without those results, and the margin of lead between the first, second, and the third was not up to 40,000 votes. So if somebody wanted to contest some of these things, there are reasons. I think a lot of things happen. But whatever thing it is, I'm at peace with myself, and I said to my people, it is not entirely my loss. It is the loss of an opportunity to serve. So I don't want to take it that it's anything personal.
But how are you taking that you lost and people are rejoicing?
Well, here again, as some people are rejoicing, some are crying also. Because some of those who are rejoicing may be rejoicing because they've been out of power and they've been pushing to look through the door to see how they will get there for 8 years, and it's not been possible, and some of them felt lost out in the scheme of things, and maybe that was time for them to, so we know how these things work in politics. If you want me to raise people who are weeping, you'll also see them weeping.
The PDP candidate, has he agreed with you not to go to court?
That was my advice as now a statesman to those who ran the election in my state implementation. I said, well, somebody took me to court for 3.5 years, and I felt thoroughly distracted. Because my first tenure of 4 years, you spent 3.5, removed twice. High Court removed me, Appeal Court removed, and all of that. And I said, can we come to a closure? Can you people find a way to allow this guy who's been declared to find time to talk about what he wants to do for Abia? Because he applied for the job for 8 years, and now the opportunity has come. Can we let him, give him some space? So that was my advice. And incidentally, the APC candidate thought otherwise, and I think he has gone to the tribunal. Unfortunately, too, the Labour Party that was supposed to be the beneficiary of this my piece of advice are also contesting against the candidates of PDP that won 11 seats in the House of Assembly. So that has thrown spanner in the works.
So could he change the scenario?
Is
there a possibility that your candidate, for example, might be thinking otherwise?
Anybody who wants to seek my advice will also get an advice that is consistent with my first comments in this regard, and that is to see if we can get a closure. But I don't know how to talk to somebody whose House of Assembly member is being challenged by the same party you are asking them not to go to court against. Does it sound right?
Let me get your reaction to Professor Oti's statement. She said she was heavily induced to manipulate the result of the election. And easily, your opponent who are pointing out accusing fingers, they're already making inference of those who could possibly be inducing the woman.
This is very unfortunate. I have not met that professor before. And I am shocked. Because in the first place, I think if she's a professor really, she should know that she doesn't even have the capacity to manipulate results. Because these are results that must have emanated from the units, collected at the ward, collected at the local government, and brought for her to just add them up and announce. I have not met her before. I have not spoken to her. If I've met her, if I've spoken to her, let her come to the public and declare so. So I'm shocked that she's making a big noise out of nothing. The only thing was that at some point when I saw the coincidence in them and traced a little bit of her background, I complained to INEC that this lady was not going to be fair. But they told me that, they assured me that they profiled her, but I'm still shocked. And what she has betrayed in the aftermath of her service or stewardship in Abia indicates the fact that she is visibly happy with what she did, which means her level of bias in that regard could be placed in favor of one party or another.
You don't think that she did right?
Well, she has betrayed that she had something at the back of her mind, a mindset of her own before she came. But for me, that'll be it.
What would you ascribe to the loss of your party in Abia State?
Well, many factors. My party did not put their acts together. I, as a person, did not campaign against. I did not campaign against him because I was of the opinion that the presidency should go to the South. But as a party man, immediately we arrived at a candidate. The next thing was, well, what do we tell the South? Can we get the national chairman back so that we can have something on the table which we can campaign? And that wasn't to come also. So it became a difficult thing to stand on the podium and begin to campaign against somebody like Peter. So our party was weakened, run up to the election. And I lost a candidate. I had to replace my candidate. I needed to also talk to a lot of people. And then at some point also, my calculation politically did not fall through.
And what was that?
Oh, well, there are two major divides in Abia, the old Aba division and the old Bende division. So old Bende had 3 or 4 gubernatorial candidates, different parties. So we were thinking that votes would be shared. But down in the south, where we come from, especially from Isialangwa down to Ukwa, after 25th of February, there was need for the political leaders to come together to review how much they wanted to produce a governor after me. But I think that the political leaders felt that they did not need that governor as badly as some ordinary people needed a governor of old Aba division extraction. So when all the political leaders collapsed and decided to move in a certain direction, they coupled with the P2B bandwagon effect, it was easy for us to run into that headwind.
But did you expect that the P2B effect was going to be that huge? To the extent that in 2 consecutive elections in the state, your party lost to the Labour Party.
Yes, that P2B effect, I predicted it, and I told my party, I even volunteered this same opinion that reasonable politicians should not ignore what P2B was doing.
Good. I mean, do you think that the P2B effect has a brighter future after now?
It's not for me to determine, because pretty much that will happen going forward will depend on how P2B manages the groundswell of support he has garnered. How is he going to funnel this towards an agenda that can eventually materialize in his dream? That is his remit. That is his business.
Do you regret being part of the G5 Governors Pact?
Or never. In fact, I think that's one of the most brilliant positions I've taken as a politician.
And the risk that came out of it?
Oh, certainly. Any day.
I mean, for those who say that Ekpazo has not lost election in this manner before, you lost 2 consecutive elections. You lost.
If that is the sacrifice for my principled position, that is okay.
Was that in the interest of the people of your state?
No, but that was in the interest of the unity of Nigeria.
For those who say it was disloyalty and a public rebellion against your political party, which gave you a platform,
But
what do you say to that?
First, loyalty to one Nigeria, loyalty to a united Nigeria. If tomorrow, after a Southern president, I'll be one of those who will say it is turn of the North, and I will do the same thing.
So do you agree with the election of Bola Tinubu?
To the extent that he is from Southern Nigeria, I think that part of what we need to unite Nigeria has been presented to us. Going forward, how he manages it is also another conversation.
Was Bola Tinubu part of the arrangement within the G5?
Oh, never. No.
His matter never came up?
No. Part of what I was doing as a person in G5 was to open the window for conversation, because my late father told me, for whatever reason, you must remain on the negotiation table. You never leave the table. So I kept telling my people, can we find a way to find a solution? There was a time, since we cannot change the candidates, can we do an internal arrangement to get the national chairman to the South so that people can begin to campaign in the South with something? But for me, as a person, my tolerance threshold can take a little bit of arrogance. But for some people, they can't take arrogance. So it continued.
So where was this arrogance coming from?
Oh, that we can go the whole hog without you. We can do this without this. We can do, and it's not.
Is it from the candidate, the presidential candidate of your party?
Well,
or where is the arrogance? Because Nigerians, you politicians, you know pretty much what is going on.
No,
but in plain terms, where is the arrogance coming from?
The mechanics that was driving our party at that time betrayed this arrogance. It's not about one person or the other, but the mechanics, the organism, betrayed this arrogance that we can do this, that we can do this.
And the G5 wanted to show them that
not necessarily
that narrative won't work.
Not necessarily wanting to show anybody. But the G5 was saying, part of what we need in this country, if you ask me as a person, and if I have the privilege of volunteering advice to whosoever is the president of this country, my advice would be, invest your time in unifying Nigeria. Invest your time in bringing everybody on board. North, South, Ishekiri, Igbo, Hausa, Fufude, youth, women, everybody on the table. It is our country. And once you do that, we can find capacity to deal with insecurity. We can find people with capability to deal with the economy. We can find people to solve all our problems going forward. But the first thing to do is to break down these walls of disunity and mistrust. Can we hold the hand of one another once again to say, this is our country?
What do you make of a Tinubu as a president?
I don't understand your question.
The G5 stood for a southern governor, southern president. Mm-hmm. But Bola Tinubu as a president-elect, in his capacity and the kind of person that he is, what do you make of him leading this country in terms of capacity, in terms of abilities?
If I want to answer your question directly, I must take a cue from perhaps what he has done before and his relationship with people. I think he has a fair chance, but what he makes out of it is also entirely his remit. But he is coming from a place that is a bit weaker than where the incumbent president started off in 2015. Because the incumbent president had goodwill, enormous goodwill. People gave him a lot of goodwill up front that he was going to get things right. And the hope was there, lined up behind him. He was going to get things right. So President Bola Tinubu is not coming with that much of goodwill capital, but he can still surprise a lot of pessimists. I think that going forward, we should give him a chance. I listened to their last guest, and I love one of the things he said, which is that this country is so huge and important to all of us that we cannot abandon this country just because Baz lost senatorial election or my party lost gubernatorial election or whatever. We must find a way to dredge up hope from this despondency to march forward. It's about service.
All right. So I'd like to come to Abia governance now, but this G5 alliance and your participation in that alliance, is there any regret for you? Would you do this again if there was a need for it?
Yes. Like I said before, after a Southern presidency, I'll be one of those who will say it is turn of the North.
Or was there anything that you thought that could have been done differently?
Meaning my party? Or
within the G5, the manner of approach, what you guys did?
I think that we gave sufficient latitude and window for that matter to be resolved. Meetings were held in Nigeria, outside Nigeria. Engagements were made, conversations were held, and the bottom line was, can you give members of the South something to campaign with, to enable me stand on the podium and campaign for my party alongside as Tinubu as P2B was.
But all of these did not work. Who would you blame for that?
Like I said before, the mechanics, whatever drives the party, betrayed a lot of arrogance. When a man is full of confidence, and that is when he is also open for.
All right. Let's talk about Abia State now, because a lot of citizens and residents of Abia State will be looking forward to hearing from you on your manner of approach in this 8-year was opportunity that they gave you. Would you say you have done well as a governor?
Yes, even in the midst of things which I think I have not done, but the much I have done gives me confidence to say yes.
Why are your opponents describing your time as a governor of Abia State as a failure?
Because they have an agenda, and that agenda is to demarcate me and do everything to make sure that nothing nice is seen. And it's a strategy which people use, engage marketers and even people on the streets. Some of them are paid 10,000 just to call on radio and say things that are not true. I say this because the things we have done is so visible. If anybody was in Abia in 2015 and takes a trip to Abia today, you will see a few things for yourself. One of them is that...
I challenge your aides to give us some of the evidence of what you have done.
Okay.
And we have facts too on some of what you have also done and perhaps what you have not done, which will also... And part of whatever you have done, which I'd challenge some of your aides to let us see evidence of what you've done. I probably would like you to speak to some of these issues.
Okay.
I mean, as a two-term governor, and governance being a major issue on the lips of a lot of people in your state who think that the potentials of that state is enormous. And they think from the potentials on the performance, they are too far apart. And that's why they think that it's a lot of disappointment rather than that could be visible.
Well, here again, I said that assessment is skewed and is coming from the lips of those who are looking for opportunity to. And luckily, one of those who's been battling for the past 8 years now has an opportunity. And our hope is that his manifesto and strategy for leading Abia will come to the fore. But that is not why I am here today. I want to say, Shehu, with all respect, I set out to lead Abia and create a better life through 5 pillars. And I enunciated several enablers to drive these 5 pillars. These 5 pillars are known. They are things we do well. Trade and commerce, small and medium-scale enterprises, agriculture, education, oil and gas. Today, Abia is the SME capital of Nigeria. I don't know if you have heard about that.
What are the figures to support that? Who
from the lips of the vice president himself, because he has visited Abia on more than 3 occasions to see what we are doing. When we got to Abia in 2015, we looked at the problem of SMEs, power, marketing, automation, and today, as I speak, we have enabled geometric power to provide alternative source of power. There is an area independent power plant, which we did in collaboration with the federal government, in addition to the regular power and other sources of power that people can get. In terms of automation, we sent 30 shoemakers to China to learn how to do shoes with machines. And we have followed up by building a shoe manufacturing company that produces 5,000 pairs of shoes. So today, the shoes that are coming out from Abia do not look like what it used to be 8 years ago.
All right, just take a pause, Governor, because there is so much to talk about, and perhaps some of the things you're saying may not be aligning into some of the statistics that I have right here about Abia State, but we'll be getting explanation. That's the reason why we invited you to speak to some of these issues. Stay with me, everyone. We'll be diving straight into some of the issues in Abia State, and we're hearing from the Governor, Okezie Ikpeazu. We'll be right back after this break. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on Politics Today on Channels Television. Governor Okezie Ikpeazu, Governor of Abia State, has been our guest tonight on the program. Thank you so much indeed.
You're welcome, sir.
So you were talking about the 5 pillars in which you told the people of Abia State about. But I'm wondering how you explain to some of the resident citizens of Abia State who believe that they have been badly governed. Perhaps, a chance of response also to what the governor-elect said. Let me allow you to listen, and I'd like you to respond to what he said. This was my interview with governor-elect of Abia State, Alex Otu. Take a listen to it.
It would have been difficult to run for the 3rd time if the reason I had decided to run in the first place had been dealt with by the outgoing administration. But what we see is that the decay is getting even deeper. The rot is getting worse. Salaries have not been paid for several months and years. Pensioners have not been paid for about 56 months. So people are actually tired, and people need the change.
Respond to that.
Yeah. He's talking about salary. I have 31,000 workers in Abia workforce, and 29,000 of them are up to date as I speak in salary payment. Pension and salaries of parastatals, which is the 2,000 that is struggling with payment of salary. Parastatals receive subvention. I don't pay their salary because they are revenue-generating agencies of government. But I don't run away from responsibility. The issue of pension has been there perennially since the past 24 years.
When your first time you promised to clear it?
Oh, yeah, I did as much as I could. This government and this administration passed through 3 recessions. When I came, within 3 months of my administration, I paid 11 months arrears of salary. Those 11 months, were they accumulated while I was still running as governor? So if you take up position as governor, you have accepted to take both liability and assets. And I don't like to complain. I didn't have to talk about what my predecessors did not do, because what gave me my job in the first place was because there are things they didn't do. So for somebody to come and make a sweeping statement that no salary has been paid is a lie.
How many months of salaries are you owing presently?
I'm not owing any core civil servant any salary.
Oh, you talked about 2,000 or thereabout?
Yes, they belong to the parastatals. I give you...
Under the state government?
Yes, I give you an example.
And so you don't think that they...
Allow me to bed my argument. If you are the general manager of, I'll give you an example, Abia State Transport Corporation, and you receive a subvention of a certain amount of money every month, and you collect money as a result of business you do, why shouldn't you pay your drivers? Why shouldn't you pay your drivers? Because there are no free lunch anywhere. If you run the Abia State Polytechnic, for instance, you collect the school fees from 10,000 students, you collect examination fees, you collect everything, and I'm supposed to give you a subvention of 100 million every month. And then you went and hired a professor from Oxford to come and teach English language. And you did not tell me you were hiring a professor. And you agreed to pay him $1 million. You will find money and pay. My duty is to release that subvention to you. So, they don't pay money into any government coffers, but they're supposed to generate and run their parastatals themselves. But that is not even, because I don't like to make excuses. This is what I don't like to do. I'm saying that 31,000 people in my workforce, I have maintained and paid 29,000 of them regularly up to date. So if I am doing some reorganization and insisting that you must be able to stand on your feet, I do not think it is a bad idea.
There is another aspect, which, of course, those who are not being paid salary will be watching tonight, and they feel very sad because they are citizens or residents of Abia State, and they deserve the wages of their labor for the government, and there is no excuse that will suffice for their families in which they feed. And perhaps, is there any possibility of assurance that these people might be paid within the next 2 months that you have left in office?
Oh, I'll keep paying to the best of my ability, but whatever is left unpaid, just like I inherited when I came, will also be paid by the next administration. Because, you know, the buck does stop at your table. Exactly.
You said you'll be responsible for all citizens of Abia State.
That is true.
And these people, over 2,000 of them that have not been paid.
That is true.
That's a failure on the side of government, isn't it?
Yes, but they have to follow my leading. If I say you must account, if you have 42 accounts, you must close them. If I say you don't have to put 60 people at the gate, 2 gates, 60 people manning it, you must do that. Otherwise, if you keep keeping them, you must take part of the responsibility.
Governor, the MBS figure about unemployment rate in Abia State, national unemployment rate is about 33.3%. Abia unemployment rate is 51%. Poverty rate in Abia State is 31%. How is this so after almost 8 years in office?
Abia is the third least in poverty index. If it is 31%, then others must be far, far, far higher than that. It's the third least in terms of poverty index in Nigeria.
Well, maybe your figures are not correct. 51% unemployment rate is what we have.
No. That can be true. You know why? You know why?
Why?
I have over 1 million people doing SMEs in Abia. That is the World Bank statistics. I inherited it from Okonjo Iweala when he brought the World Bank managing director to Abia. My people are not necessarily a civil service state. That is why Abia is the safest state in the southeast.
Really?
Yes.
Even with the sit at home, the IPOB activities, the kidnapping, and some of the killings that.
So you don't know that Abia is the safest state?
No, I'm asking you.
Yes.
With all of these incidents, you still refer to it as the safest?
Safest state in the southeast, yes. You can ask anybody.
So, Governor, let me take you to a rather puzzling situation. There is a 27.4 billion bank loan that is, to have come from the World Bank. What has come of that? What have you used it for?
This is New Map project. A New Map project, people know that is not paid into government coffers. This is also one of the big-time propaganda that people vend. World Bank New Map project is in more than 15 states across Nigeria. And the World Bank procurement process, engagement of contractor process, bidding process. In fact, I think the bid is opened in Washington. I have no hand, and government of Abia State has no hand in who does what. Our duty is to defend the projects we want New Map to intervene.
So what are the projects that people can see?
Amoda Isungu erosion site, Nsulu erosion site, Ngwa Road is there. Obohia, Orata, Aja Road. All the roads, in fact, as I speak, somebody was on Obohia Road today doing inspection. It is not possible for anybody to dip hand into World Bank money. This is a no-brainer.
So you're spending it judiciously?
I'm not spending. The World Bank is spending.
So let me ask you, Governor, do you go out sometimes when it's raining to see what is happening in your state?
Oh, certainly.
Are you aware about this state, erosion and how it affects the people of your state? And I'd like to mention some roads that these have affected.
Fox Road.
Obohia Road, Obohia to Oanku, to Obohia, to Port Harcourt Road, to Obingwa, to Umahia, Aba South Local Government, Asa Road, Jubilee Road. These are roads that people of your state are complaining about.
No. Obingwa is not a road. Obingwa is a local government. They're just modeling up things. The place we have a flooding problem today in my state is around our area. Ndieguru used to be, if you remember when they have Ndieguru flood disaster. Okay, the last flood disaster in Nigeria. Did you hear about any IDP camp in Abia State?
What did you do?
I dredged waterside long before that flooding incident. I dredged Ifobra Pond, I dredged Omabai Pond, I dredged Orata Pond. Abia is one of the few states that did not experience that flooding. However, the flood at Ifobra, which is opposite our area, we had to do Fox Road and set up a head pump to pump water because the gradient won't carry water to waterside. But this pump at the head, this head pump at the Ifobra Pond here, needs somebody to pump it as soon as there is an overflow. So if people fail to pump it whenever there is an overflow, you may have flooding in our area. That is the only place I have flooding issue, and we are working on it even as I speak.
But
beyond there,
I was mentioning these major roads leading these major communities, local government, and some of these roads that are, a lot of people believe, I mentioned a few of these roads, but the question is that even Aba, for example, and those who visit will say, why is that city in such an eyesore? Considering the state of infrastructure.
When did you visit Aba last?
What has happened in Aba, Governor?
Wow.
The state of infrastructure in that.
Let me tell you, as you enter Aba from either Owerri or Umuahia, what will greet you is the most beautiful flyover in my geopolitical zone, the Osisioma flyover, and that is the first flyover ever by any government in Abia State. That has reduced traveling time from that Osisioma that used to be 45 minutes to city center to now less than 10 minutes. Then it will ease you into Abowere Road, newly constructed with 2-arm drainage. As you hit Brass, you will see another road that is Fox Road, which is ongoing, leading to area, done by this government. If you go beyond there, you will get to Ezuku Road, another road done by this government leading to Ezuku Market by your right. Flanking Ezuku Road is Milverton and Ojikelen. At Okigwe Road roundabout, you will see Okigwe Road, another new road done by this government. And then off as you head towards Ezuku Market, you will see Osusu Road, another road done by this government. You will see Omoma Road, another road done by this government. And some of these roads I'm mentioning are rigid paved roads.
So are these some of the things
that propaganda?
These are some of the things you use.
Over 200 roads.
The borrowings that you got.
No.
Which is
new map project.
No, I'm not talking about the name and the World Bank. I'm talking about the loans that the state government. I'm talking about the debt burden of the state. Mm-hmm. What would you say these loans? Because you'll be leaving this debt to the next government.
What is the debt profile? What was the debt profile in 2015? What is the debt profile now?
You can tell us.
No, but I'm telling you that we are safe. All the borrowings that I did will terminate before the 29th of May.
And you will have been able to clear all?
Of course, because what I did was to, whatever that is the headroom we have, if it is 200, 300 million every month, I aggregate it and take $1 billion. And you take the 300 for 10 months.
Governor, we are out of time now. And just in about 60 seconds, I'd like to...
No, before you go, don't forget that we have done over 200 roads, 4 bridges. We have done 700 brand new classroom blocks, including 4 model schools. We have migrated into digital learning in Abia. Don't forget that we moved Abia State University from number 97 to 26, and the second best state school in Nigeria. Don't forget that Abia State has telehealth initiative that links over 700 primary health care centers to 16 doctors in our call room. I'm bequeathing a brand new government now. Wait a minute.
No, just because we are totally out of time, Governor.
Okay.
What would you say is your biggest achievement in office in 8 years?
My biggest achievement is that I'm bequeathing the safest state and the most stable state. It is also that I'm bequeathing a state that has moved up the ladder of education, come first 4 years in West African Examination Council, that has built 2 industries and employed over 10,000 people. These are there for everybody to see.
What would you also say to those who have a very strong belief that you are leaving behind perhaps the state in the worst condition, and that they describe you as more of a failure in your 8 years?
This government is bequeathing the first long-term development plan to the new government, the first industrial policy. If they leave the realm of propaganda, history and posterity will be fair to us.
Governor Okezie-Ikpeazu, thank you so much indeed for your time and your ability to be able to explain some of these issues. Thank you so much indeed for coming tonight.
You're welcome, Sean.
Appreciate it. Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Okimale. I'll see you tomorrow again at 7.